Hi, this is Harshit Patni, roll number 201501107, and this is the fourth video in the series on Schrodinger's cat paradox. The Schrodinger's cat is a philosophical story explaining why quantum mechanics applies to very small things, but for big things, it can be just plain silly, and people shouldn't use it that way. It's a thought experiment designed to point out the strangeness of one's interpretation of quantum mechanics. This revolves around a principle of quantum theory called superposition, which basically claims that if you don't know what the state of any object is, then as long as you don't look to check, it is actually in all possible states simultaneously. A while ago, when scientists were looking at the behavior of the smallest particle we know of, they discovered that they did some unexpected things. The idea that particles are like tiny billiard balls didn't explain what they saw. Sometimes particles seem to behave like billiard balls, but sometimes they behave more like waves, and so on. And confusion among all is that sometimes the behavior changed depending on whether they were being measured at the time. So, people came up with various ideas that might explain the observations, and these different ways of interpreting the data were called interpretations of quantum mechanics. A popular one for a while was the Copenhagen interpretation, which said that particles were not always in just one state, but could be in more than one state at the same time, called a superposition of states. But that when a person observed what state they were in, they would immediately become in only one state. This was odd because it seemed to give the human mind a magical power to change the world just by looking at it, but it did seem to explain the idea. Erwin Schrodinger proposed a theoretical experiment in which a cat was put in a steel box along with a vial of hydrocyanuric acid along with a tiny amount of radioactive substance. If just one atom of this decayed during the test period, it would trigger a sequence in which hammer would break the vial and kill the cat. As long as the box stayed closed, you wouldn't know whether this happened or not. So according to quantum law and the superposition of states, the cat is both alive and dead at the one and the same time. It's only when you take a measurement, that is look in the box, that the superposition ceases to be and the cat is either alive or dead. The paradox is that the observation, which is measurement, affects the outcome, so the outcome doesn't exist until the measurement is made. The Schrodinger's cat is an attempt to point out just how odd the Copenhagen interpretation is by scaling it up. You have a cat in a box with a particle that is in a superposition of states. According to Copenhagen interpretation, the cat is literally both alive and dead at the same time and becomes in one state only when you open the box and look.